life's too short to do something that you don't like doing, right? I mean, make sure you have enough money to eat, but at the end of the day, working hard in an area that you love is so much more fulfilling.
Hi, I'm Nick Warner. As a dad, a lucky husband, and as a business coach, I value people and relationships above all else. But next is winning, sustainability, and healthy culture. I've been a business owner for 25 years and served for decades as a special advisor to business and government leaders at all levels. Let's just say I've seen some stuff. My passion and my expertise are helping motivated professionals and businesses find the highest level confluence of what they want in life and business. This is what it feels like to be together at the top. Our sincere thank you to our sponsors, the law firm of Scholes, Brick & Rogaski, Gene Hiller Menswear, Kathy Olson at Ships and Trips, and Three Bridges Consulting. Alexa Ehlers is a professional horse rider and trainer and the owner of Clearview Equestrian in Lexington, Kentucky. For reference and disclaimer, my 23-year-old daughter, Hannah Warner, essentially acts as Alexa's chief of staff and farm manager in Lexington. Riding and training horses professionally is a tough job, akin to being a cowboy or a cowgirl in terms of the impact on the body and the dusk to dawn commitment every day. Being a professional athlete competing internationally and aiming for the Olympics someday is not quite enough to land you on the show, Alexa. But as it turns out, being an ICU nurse, a young and emerging business owner, and leader in your industry puts you squarely in our sights. All of this before 30 years old. I'm a 53-year-old business coach at the top of my game, and I've seen just about everything. But I know it's critical that I continue to learn from those behind me so I can stay sharp on my verbiage, technology, generational pressures, and to help me remember how it felt back then so I can avoid traps and be a better boss and partner. We can be better bosses and leaders if we stay tight to the generations right behind us. Alexa, where are you today? And say hello to the people of Together at the Top.
Oh gosh, thanks so much for having me. And hi, everybody. We're down in Ocala, Florida at the moment.
All right. So it's 3 o'clock where you are, 12 o'clock where I am in California. Tell us about your day today, including you were almost running late up for the show. What does a normal day look like for you in the horse world, Alexa?
I'm not sure that there ever is a normal day, so to speak. We're playing with animals and they have brains of their own. And so it's always something really. But I think that's probably what draws us all to wanting to do this as a profession and that sort of thing. But today was the start of our great migration back up toward Kentucky. We come down to Ocala, Florida for kind of 3 months of the year, sometimes longer, sometimes a little shorter. So we were up at 3:45 to help get the girls loaded and ready to start driving back up to Lexington. And then Hannah and I started getting things organized this morning. So it was maybe a little bit more of an early wake-up call than the average day. And then we've kind of been full steam ahead trying to get ready to head up to a big international competition up in North Carolina on our way home from here.
3 states mentioned so far, 345, and the dark mentioned so far. Yeah, so what is it? Who are the girls, by the way? You said we loaded the girls up. Are the girls your team or are the girls the horses?
A little bit of everything. No, the girls would be a group of our team or a couple of the many people that help make this stream really happen. So we've got Cameron and Nico both headed up to Lexington right now. They took 3 horses with them and a trailer full of stuff. So 2 trucks and trailers and 2 girls and rocking and rolling.
All right, so let's go back to normal day just for 1 minute, because most of us have no idea what a professional equestrian does. And our producer, Riley, who's on with us, he actually has a family member who does dressage. So surprisingly, he actually knows. But tell us a little bit, if you had a normal day on the farm in Lexington, what does it look like? What do you do? How many horses do you ride? Are they your horses, somebody else's horses? What the heck do you do on Clearview Equestrian?
Oh, gosh. So normal day, generally speaking, we're starting kind of 7:30, something like that. It's always a game of trying to do as much as humanly possible, but also trying to avoid any burnout for the rest of the team, probably myself too, to some extent. We start pretty early. It's a mixture, a real team effort in terms of getting horses taken care of, schedules organized, the office stuff, so to speak, kind of handled first thing. And then we're riding anywhere between 5 and 10 horses, just truly riding. And then normally 1 p.m., we shift gears a bit. The team in the barn is taking care of making sure that the horses are getting cared for properly after, a morning of hard exercise and that sort of thing. And then I go out and am teaching and coaching students while they handle the rest. So that's where Hannah comes into being my right hand practically, in that she handles everything in the barn and that I can go and focus on coaching and teaching.
Awesome. That's really helpful to understand what a quote unquote normal day looks like when you happen to be in your home state, on your home farm,
Yeah.
in your home country. You grew up in Colorado on skis, as I understand it, anyways. How the heck did you end up in Kentucky on the backs of horses?
Well, I think adrenaline would be the short answer there. I think definitely a little bit addicted to the adrenaline side of life. But I have been really lucky in that I'm the youngest of my family. And so I've been learning to kind of go with the flow from the beginning. And my dad moved around quite a bit for work. So we went up to Virginia from Colorado, and that was really where we got the first taste of riding horses as a real sport and not just a hobby. My sister rode quite a bit when we were growing up, and so me being slightly competitive, I watched her and I just wanted to do what she was doing and maybe a little bit more.
Ooh, I wish you could have seen Alexa's face when she said a little competitive. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Just a
yeah,
little competitive.
only a little.
Yeah. Tell us about the discipline of 3-day eventing. It's been described as almost like decathlon for horses.
Yeah, so it's three different sports all rolled up into one. We normally do it over 3 days. The first day is dressage. You could think of it kind of as figure skating, something like that. And it gives us our initial score to start the, week or weekend on. And you can't make your score any better, but you definitely can make it worse. And the goal is to end on the score that you started with. From there, you go out, generally go to cross country, which is a pretty good test of the horse's endurance and their bravery. And you're normally galloping for anywhere from, I don't know, 6 to 11 minutes out, and really, really testing the horses there. And then you get a night of rest and then come back the next day to do show jumping, which are jumps that do fall down. And so the goal would be to have a horse that's coming back and athletic enough to jump the fences clearly, and hopefully not adding any penalty points to your score that way. And that's the end of a weekend, really.
And that's double clear, right? Meaning like you matched the time and you didn't knock over any rails, I think you call them.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you've got it. You're a master.
Look at me leveling up my verbiage, figuring all this out. I've been good at paying for it historically, but not as good as knowing about it, but I'm getting better at knowing about it anyways. What do you love so much about horses? And I'm also curious on your comment, is the horse the athlete or is the rider the athlete?
The horse is the true athlete. The riders have to be athletic enough to stay out of the horse's way. And I think anybody who's ridden a horse at least once will kind of understand that side of it.
What do you love so much about horses?
Oh gosh, I think there are many, many things to love, but the challenge, I think, of communicating and working with something that can't necessarily speak back to you, right? I think that there's a real challenge to that. And there's just such an incredible feeling to be able to do something as crazy as we do and do it without even saying anything with your words, really.
That's great to hear about. We've covered to some degree, we've covered the horse world. We have a good level set on what you do, although we don't understand it in full detail. That's a whole nother show. But like so many successful people and leaders in your industry, you don't have a straight line right into your vocation. You are or you were an ICU nurse right out of college. Geez, Alexa, when I first met you, you were working graveyards at the hospital and then shedding your scrubs for boots and a saddle. Tell us about deciding on horses over ICU. A lot of the emerging leaders we meet in various industries do not have a straight line. They did one thing and at some point made a difficult decision, probably even a financially invested decision to do something different. I'd like to hear about I'll call it a crooked line. You may not have experienced it that way, but I'd love to hear more about your decisions to go from ICU to horses full time.
Yeah, so I think it really goes back to even the very beginning of coming out of high school and knowing that a college education was something that was really important, at least to my parents. Me now more so as an adult, right? But my parents really, really believed in me going to college and getting an education and having what they called a fallback, which for me, I wasn't really sure that I ever wanted to have a fallback, so to speak. And so really I enjoyed the science side of things, and nursing kind of fell into the perfect plan if you wanted to draw that out on paper, in that I could work for 3 days, right? And then I could ride my horses the other 4 days of the week. And that sounded very perfect. It was very idealistic. Then we went through college, got the whole thing done. And in the meantime, we bought a farm in Kentucky while I was in college. And I really fell in love with running the business of the boarding. And that means really taking care of the horses. So in a way, I ended up kind of getting 2 degrees, my like life degree, real life degree in business via messing things up and figuring them out with the farm and running that business, and then also my nursing degree. So that was kind of the start of having my feet in both pools. And I was already on the path of getting my nursing degree. And I'm one of those people that really likes to try to follow through with things. And I put my sights on getting my nursing degree. And so I had to follow through with that. And I enjoyed it a lot and learned to love it. But it wasn't like my true passion, right? The horses are and have always been my true passion. But with that said, I tried to be really realistic about things. And so I wanted to utilize my nursing degree, and I ended up getting a full time job in a unit that I worked in during school when we had to get a few hours of in hospital work done. They hired me on, and I ended up working there for 3 years. And really, it was, in my mind, my financial stability coming through with that, right? I was able to utilize my degree. I got a really strong foundation in nursing, and if I ever wanted to go back, I would feel relatively comfortable going back and doing that. And I also walked away with a 401k, and that was vested, which was comforting, knowing that I'm walking into the horse industry, which is super volatile and a little bit less financially stable. So I always, in the back of my mind, knew I wanted to run the farm full time, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to take the step over to doing it full time until I had a bit of a cushion financially in that way, while looking toward the future.
What about on the passion side? I mean, being an ICU nurse or a nurse in general, I mean, obviously it's hard, and I'm sure, from watching TV, from knowing nurse friends, from knowing you, that it takes a emotional toll, but there's also a passion in helping people. Did that play in to going from one passion to another? Or did you not experience it that way?
Definitely, right? I'm a people pleaser at the very bottom of it all, and there's this desire to do more in the world than just serve myself. So there was definitely a struggle in the idea of transitioning over from nursing to doing the horses that felt quite selfish, right? And I love the nursing because I felt like I was always giving back to people and being able to help others. And so I had to, in looking at stepping away from nursing, find a similar feeling of giving back to others in stepping into the horses, right? Within the horses. But I mean, with that said, too, the nursing, you're spot on with it taking a toll on you, right? It's a difficult profession, and as much as there are highs, there are probably more lows, especially in where I was, the neuro ICU. And so just, yeah, finding that balance and then being able to take the perspective that I gained doing nursing into this profession, and this kind of really, really, I don't even know, sunshines and rainbows kind of world that sometimes is not really sure the best way to put it, but we're all very privileged to be able to do horses. And so having the perspective of the nursing on that end helps keep things in perspective on this side.
Yeah, you mentioned lessons that were transferable. Maybe it's not lessons, maybe it's perspective. Were there lessons that translate?
Yeah, well, gosh, it's life, right? I think that you can get lessons from anything. You stop and fill up your car with gasoline, and there's a lesson to be learned from anybody that you're around, right? So there were certainly things that I took away from nursing and brought back into the horse world. But I think that can happen anywhere if you're looking to learn and kind of evolve, right?
Yeah. Also, like so many driven professionals, you bit off a chunk in terms of big commitments and arguably overcommitting. You have exceptional top shelf drive, like so many other young professionals I work with as a business coach. And I've been overcommitment prone during my formative years also. Talk to us about committing versus overcommitting, and what advice you give young riders or even young nurses, I guess, for that matter, you've mentored in terms of overcommitting and balance.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know that the way I did it was necessarily the right way. by any means. I think the time in my life when I was doing so much was probably the right time. When you're young and you don't really realize that functioning on 3 hours of sleep every day is not the way to do things. But I've definitely learned that being surrounded by a great team is the only way to function, whether you're doing two professions or one. It's just making sure that you're surrounded by a really good support system, and that makes a world of a difference.
How do you know when you're overcommitted? And what do you look for in others to see if they're overcommitted? If you got it, you can spot it. How do you spot it in yourself, and what do you look for in others?
Truly the quality of work and effort that you're able to put into things, right? I used to think that being able to do everything was the sign of success. And I've started to really learn that it's not how much you're doing, it's, how well you're doing it, right? And if you're not doing it well, then it's probably better to put it on the side or find somebody that you can delegate it to that you can trust will be able to handle the task, right? Or at least find somebody that you feel comfortable delegating to eventually.
My guess is that's one of the lessons you took from nursing and from the pace of the ICU and the pace of the medical profession you were in a hospital setting. Is there's a fine line between doing a lot and doing too much, and it could have deadly consequences there. My guess is whether you know it or not, you took some of that with you. It might be a gut reaction, it might be a feeling, it might be I'm way behind and I've seen this before. I'm spread too thin, or I see you being spread too thin. My guess is some of that did translate from the ICU.
Prioritization was something that I really took away from nursing, right? I think that whether you call it perspective or any of that, but being able to prioritize things, if you take on a lot, that's okay, right? But knowing that it's okay for it to not all get done, you just have to, in your head, be able to prioritize, pick the thing that needs your attention most, handle that. And there's always another day to get the rest done. So pick the important stuff and move on.
Yeah. In the coaching world, we say, or at least I say, prioritize and execute, and they're not equal values. Prioritize is way more important. We have to execute, but prioritize and then execute. The enemy of priority 1 and 2 is usually 3, 4, and 5, as James Clear points out in Atomic Habits. And I think that's really true. You come across a lot of young people, like college kids, interns, young riders and trainers. People my age always complain about the lack of drive and focus in our next generation of younger professionals. I'm not sure I totally agree based on what I'm seeing in my practice. I'm curious what you see in the next generation.
There are kids that are, young adults that really are wanting to work hard. I think that there are young adults that just have to learn how to, if that makes sense. I'm not sure that it's that they don't want to work hard. It's more so they're understanding the quality of life is really important. And I think us learning how to, as like managers or anything like that, we have to kind of learn how to implement quality of life parts of, a quality of life into the workspace too, right? There are ways to be really efficient and then allow people to go out and enjoy their life too, right? I think that's something that I run into more than anything, is that we don't necessarily, as much as I love working from 4 a.m. to, 7 p.m., it's not something that we have to do. And maybe we do that one day and then we can turn around the next day and we get done a little early and we can go to Sky Zone and we all jump on the trampoline, right? Like, I think that as a boss, you have to be able to take this, up and coming generation and speak to them in like that way. Like, hey man, we're going to have to grind really hard for this day. And they learn to work hard in that day or that block. And then we get to go have fun later on. And then we balance out quality of life with the hard work too.
We appreciate your time. If you like what you've heard so far, do me a favor and leave a 5-star review and share with your friends. We'll be right back. The law firm of Scholes, Brick & Rogaski is a go-to partner for me. I work the most with partner Michael Rogaski. I go to them for business contracts, strategic legal counsel to maneuver through or around complex business situations, HR and employee issues, startup needs, intellectual property protections, collection matters, and recently the purchase or sale of a business. I really like the fact they tell me if they're not the best fit and they give me a warm referral if I need it. Also, unlike so many attorneys, are totally level-headed and calm. I've experienced it like their slogan says, small firm service, large firm result. Contact Michael Rogaski at sbrlawsd.com. Kathy Olson at Ships and Trips is as creative and as willing a travel partner as you can find. These days, you can plan a lot of trips on your own, but for those trips that require more intricate planning, tons of time, or local contacts and savvy, Kathy's the best. My family and friends have worked with her countless times in every travel country, setting, and season you can think of. Contact Kathy with a C at shipsandtripstravel.com. I really like what you said about learning how to work hard, because you can have a work ethic and not know how to apply it. I had a guy named Doug Storm who was a high-ranking official in Orange County when I was a kid in business, like 27 or so, and I worked hard, man. I worked Alexa Thompson hard, Alexa Ellers hard, to be honest with you. But he always said to me, "I'm not impressed by your hard work. Work smart, not hard." It doesn't impress me, Warner. And it hurt my feelings early on, but I really came to understand what he meant, because I was saying yes to some of the wrong things. I was valuing all things the same, meaning like all tasks are created equal. And he clowned me for a bit. I ultimately earned his trust and respect, which I wore like a badge of honor. Yeah, I mean, you make a really good point about teaching some of these kids that are willing to work hard to work hard. And frankly, if you're not willing to work hard, you're not surviving, you or me, anyways. So there's not much to cultivate at that point. You got to come with motivation. I do not teach drive or motivation. You're a coach also. I work with your existing drives and motivation to cultivate them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, I think you're so spot on with that. And I think a lot of these kids are they want to work hard. They just really have to learn how.
Most of us won't be a professional athlete or even an ICU nurse. What would you tell younger people coming up about the importance of liking what you do for a living? What if you start down one road and it's really not for you?
Life's too short to do something that you don't like doing, right? I mean, make sure you have enough money to eat. But at the end of the day, working hard in an area that you love is so much more fulfilling.
Yeah, if you say just one thing to me or to others, I would say it's that thing. I think that's really neat. And for you to interject a practical, like we have to pay the bills. And there's a time and a place for me, it was waiting tables, bussing tables, and becoming a waiter after college. At the same time, I had my first professional job. Yours happened to be elevated. It was ICU nursing while you were trying to make something else go. But finding your way to something you like is you spend a lot of hours doing it. And it's kind of a new school thought. I mean, some people might even say, that's soft. Like in my parents' generation, you grind it for a living and that's what you do. And you do it for 30 years and then you go live your life elsewhere. I'm not sure. That's a place where I think newer, like younger generations have it right. And a generation in front of me has it wrong. And my generation's somewhere in the middle. I mean, even look at divorce rates. I haven't studied the science, but I know just anecdotally, my parents' generation had a way higher divorce rate than my generation because we balance work and family better. And I think your generation is going to be the best of all of us.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
Yeah, right. Nursing's a science. Horses are live beasts and a form of science, but business is not science. And it is in many ways exactly the opposite of nursing and caring for horses. Invoices, sponsors, advertising, digital media, employees, facilities, stressed out yet? Fleet, salary, and benefits. I've been direct and even at times hard on you, Alexa, in this space of your business acumen and organizational skills. How do you like business, being an employer, and are you good at it and getting better at it also? Of course, I want to know.
Well, I'm definitely getting better at it. Big thanks to you for being able to jump in and lend advice when I'm begging you for it. In terms of liking business, I got into the horses because I really love the horses, right? I love the sport. I love that side of things. I'm not sure that I love business because sometimes in the horses business comes at the cost of being a good person. And that's where nurse me really struggles, right? I think being able to learn more about how to do business in a more true and fair sense has made me appreciate it more. And business is such like a general word, right? I think, do I love accounting? No. Am I learning how to handle it because I have to? Yeah. And I think that kind of goes back to our conversation earlier about a little bit having to do things you don't like in order to do the things that you do. And so that's how I look at that side of the business stuff. And I've also learned to lean into people as well, right? I know enough that as much as I need to, and then I've been able to delegate the rest and find, people who are way better at that than I am. And that's been really, really helpful.
Yeah, really good. I like how you disaggregated business. I think that's really smart. I've actually never had that thought before. Do I love business? I don't know. I mean, do I love being an employer and shaping young, motivated professionals? Yeah, I do. Do I like branding and marketing? Yeah, I like it. Okay. How about sponsorships? Yeah, it's pretty good. Accounting, I can't stand it. I went from horrible to decent, which is one of the things you and I have talked about. And If you work with me, you know, at a certain level and you're at that level and above, Alexa, you can't suck at any one thing. You have to get proficient. But the chances of you going from awful at accounting to fantastic are slim. So you, at least in my view, take a really mature, sober adult view and say, I'm going to use my team. You said lean into or lean on. I'm going to build a team around me of people that are really good at things that I'm mediocre at. And I'm going to supercharge where I'm excellent and where I have passion. How do you learn as you grow in the sport and in your business at Clearview Equestrian? And you have so much to learn and so much to do to the previous points. How do you learn and how do you level up? Mentors, business coach, books, phone a friend, business classes, YouTube.
Is all of the above an answer for that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, I think not only are we horse professionals, we're also part-time truck drivers. So I lean into, trying to do audiobooks and podcasts, phone a friend, totally I've learned to utilize or try to at least utilize my time as best I can. When you're in the truck for 13 hours driving and moving the horses around the country, then take that time and try and level up, as you say, right? And other areas, like the business side of things, or it's a great time to schedule calls with potential sponsors and doing that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely I've tried to utilize my time a little bit better in finding those areas to, I guess, learn and that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's really good. In fact, you point out something that one of the things I was thinking, I've told a couple of people about this interview is that people in suits and ties are going to get a lot out of this interview. And I think you're in a space right now where they're going to get something out of it, which is, let's say you're a lawyer, let's say you're a computer programmer, you spend most of your time in the code book, programming with your colleagues, that sort of thing. So when do you sell? Because I'm just using attorneys and, like, let's say IT folks, you still have to have clients. You still have to have, in your business sponsors, but they can't really do it during those work hours. So we're talking about pockets of time either blocked, or you mentioned the car or the truck. I think it's fantastic. I make calls that don't have to be at my desk. They could be networking calls, they could be discrete calls to learn something or to ask a question or refresh a relationship. I use that time. I plan that time. I block it. Another example is I flew back from the East Coast. I was in Knoxville with my daughter this weekend, and I had some business writing to do that I don't want to say it was stressing me out, but as I was looking at my calendar, I realized, boy, my pockets of error to work on this are pretty minimal. Like, it's really going to be 6 to 8 in the morning, 5 to 7 after a whole, day's worth of coaching calls. It's not going to be my best time. So I advance block that time on that plane to write. So you're finding pockets of air and pockets of time as a busy professional, young or otherwise, to do the things you need to do. Because you're not going to be able to do them on the back of a horse or in your office.
No, you're spot on.
When you're riding competitively and training the next generation of amateur and professional riders, you're courting sponsors also. Tell us how you think about sponsors and how do you approach and nurture sponsor relationships? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? Is it whining and dining like in the business world?
Maybe I should learn how to wine and dine a bit better. Maybe that would help us out a bit. But who I am as a person, I really enjoy the personal side of getting to know our sponsors, and I enjoy kind of the intimate relationships that we can have with them. I think the best advice I ever got from someone was that you have to really love the companies and the products that you're representing. And so, as a young kid looking at sponsorships, I just wanted free stuff. Right. And then as I've grown and learned a bit more, then I've been able to think about sponsorships in kind of a new light. And these are people that you're working with day in and day out. And so having, relationships and being surrounded by people you really like is super, super important. So that's been a kind of a fun way to get to handle the sponsorship side of stuff.
So that might distill down to, if you can, try to do business with people you like. And also I mean, we're talking about sponsorships. It could be a product line for somebody that's in sales, for example. Try to be around products you like that you would use or that you have used. You can't always do that. But for me, it's all fun and games until I have to go sell something. And then I'm like, uh-oh, I don't really feel very good about this, or I don't have answers for those concerns. I don't like that. So I'm doing my work on the front end with the people and also asking probative questions before you say something like, hi, Alexa Thompson, on behalf of, like, oh man, I really don't like this brand. That's no good. Or this person never calls me back on time. Or they can even show to the thing that, they're supposed to be at. So flushing out, I want to do business with sharp people and sharp products is ideal if you can.
Yeah, I think it speaks a lot to who you are as a person, right? So if you're representing a company that you really believe in, then it falls back on you too, right? So if it's a good company, then it makes you look good and vice versa.
Yeah, I want to go backward to two things you said that caught my attention. You said nothing was off limits. You talked about volatility in the market, and then you also talked about, in some ways, the horse business threatening your ethics. You didn't say those exact words, but makes you do things at times that offends nurse you. So I'd like to hear about like how you handle volatility, because that's not a horse world thing. That's a like adult business world thing. It can be volatile, all can be. How do you handle that? What's specific to the equine world? And then tell me about like an ethical dilemma or two, or something that's caught your ire in terms of the horse business that you mentioned. Start with volatility.
For us, like I said earlier too, we're dealing with horses. They have a mind of their own, and you never really know what's going to happen. Not only are you dealing with the economical kind of state of things, and that then influences the true market of the horses and their sales. You're also looking at your investment isn't just money sitting somewhere. It's literally a horse sitting in the field, and a tractor could drive by, scare it, and it could go through the fence and, not to be morbid, but truly kill itself, right?
Unfortunately, I know that actually happens.
Sadly, it does, right? More often than you'd like to think. And so you're looking at a six-figure investment that's gone. If you're lucky, sometimes you're able to insure them, but even still, it's something that is volatile, literally and figuratively speaking. And so a little bit you learn to roll with the punches and that sort of thing. And it goes back to making sure that you're surrounded by investors and sponsors and people that you enjoy working with, because the hard times do come. And so you've got to be surrounded by people that when the bad is there, they're going to be standing beside you and with you through it. And when the good times are there, then they're great to be around too. And then the other side of it is just making sure to invest as wisely as you can, and you do everything you can in the best way that you can to try to prevent bad things from happening, right? And I think that goes back to the perspective I've gained off of the nursing is losing money it sucks, but at the end of the day, it could be worse.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, that's really powerful perspective. It actually gives me goosebumps. We appreciate your time. If you like what you've heard so far, do me a favor and leave a 5-star review and share with your friends. We'll be right back. Three Bridges Consulting did the video on the recently rebranded NickWarnerConsulting.com. I really love the video because it helps me sell by speaking directly to my prospective clients. Dennis and Sean at Three Bridges Consulting are high-level storytellers for the purpose of helping my prospective coaching clients understand what differentiates me from the pack. A recent new coaching client literally said to me, "You don't need to sell me, Nick. Your video sold me. I understand what you do and how you work with me as a client." That is a true story. You know I love that. Contact 3BC at threebridgesconsulting.co. Gene Hiller Menswear is the finest menswear store I have found. Owner Tom Gangitano and his highly trained team understand I care a lot about my brand, and I need a partner who understands why it matters and has the skill set and product to put me in a winning position in front of my valued clients. But where the heck can I shop other than Nordstrom? I just told you. Gene Hiller Sausalito or GeneHillerMenswear.com. Yeah, I didn't see that last part coming. It's a really, really good point. Getting perspective when you come from, what do you call it, neo ICU? I mean, you're seeing the most heartbreaking things there, and it gives you perspective from the relative heartbreaking things you might be seeing or difficult things you see in the equine world, if I'm tracking you correctly.
Yeah, no, spot on. And even my dad's a business guy, and he says that they always joke about, or not always, but they're kind of joke to bring things back into light is like, okay, well, is somebody dying, right? We get really worked up about something happening in our world, but at the end of the day, is somebody dying? And if they're not, then
we'll get through it.
Then okay, bring it back down and we'll figure it out, right? And I thought that was really, really helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad you're a mentor to a lot of young people. You're very balanced and very grounded. You're doing the teaching right now. I'm the coach, but you're doing the coaching right now, and I accept all of it. I think it's great. You travel extensively and you spend considerable time overseas buying and selling horses and competing and training. What do you love about it, and what's hard about leaving home? And your great husband, who's also a professional horseman. Tell us about the joys and the difficulties with your considerable U.S. and European travel schedule.
It was definitely a balancing act, right? But when we decided that moving over to France and doing kind of the European adventure was going to be a possibility, Then,
Ooh, I can hear the farm in the background.
oh God, I know. I'm so sorry. I was hoping you wouldn't hear
I
it.
hear animals. Oh, don't be. We're interviewing. I mean, you're a professional equestrian. You're on a farm. It is what it is. We like it that way.
That was our stray dog. We were actually, just an adoption center as well. If anybody's looking for a lovely dog that has a slight bark, it's an option. We have
You're
one.
dressed like a horsewoman, like an equestrian. The sounds in the background or of a farm. Let's do this.
There we go.
So you were talking about international travel and great adventures.
International travel. Yeah. So we decided that we were going to be able to go over to France for 4 months to go and train. And it was probably one of the most kind of selfish feeling things that I've done personally in my career, right? Because doing the horses, I feel like I look at my job as two different things. I have my professional athletic career, right? The idea of I would love to ride for the United States on a senior team one day. And so I'm chasing that dream. And a lot of professional athletes, that gets to be their job all day, every day, right? Is training and trying to perfect their art or their craft really. But the other side of my job is coaching and training other people. And that's where I find a lot of joy as well, right? And being able to help them kind of fulfill their dreams. And so this idea of going over to France, it was an opportunity that was presented. And your daughter Hannah was like, she gave me like the big push and saying, dude, you're here for people all the time. Like you're allowed to go and get better yourself because ultimately you're going to come back 4 months from now, which is no time at all, right? Perspective. It's a very short period of time and you're going to come back way better for your clients. And that was really, really helpful. It was the nudge I needed. And so we put 3 horses on an airplane and we all jumped over and trained for 4 months and competed all over Europe, which is something I hope I can do again. But, being able to be there for 4 months and train, that'll probably never happen again in my life. And so it was just really, really cool to be able to take the opportunity and study abroad, so to speak, in my late 20s and get better. And I think I've come back a whole new businesswoman, a new rider, and a new wife. I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, the wife part is actually interesting because for those of us who've done a lot of business travel, I've never been gone 4 months, but I've been gone long enough where like the guilt really pulls at me for kids, for my wife, like that sort of thing. It really takes support at home, doesn't it? And communication also. Coming home and surprising Karen, hey, I'm leaving for 4 months is totally different than a team conversation because it has impact on your spouse. And I come across where I see it, Alexa, is somebody promotes from the field and next thing you know they're going on business meetings or to training conferences for a week or 10 days and they haven't traveled before, and I really urge them to get out front of that and talk to their spouse about it and get a plan, be part of the solution. The guilt part is really interesting, and I bet that translates to other businesses as well. You feel like you're taking away from the day to day, but your team's telling you no, it's an opportunity for you to come back better. I'm impressed by all that. Meaning to say, it makes an impression on me the way you describe all that. How did you get better as a business person over there?
I was able to find a really great mentor. And I think it goes back to your question about the ethics too, in that I met a fantastic mentor, horseman person in Maxime Livio. And that's where I was based out of in France. And the guy is, I mean, the ultimate businessman and also horseman. He has 78 horses on his or in his program. And to give, you perspective on that, I've got 30, and he's able to manage all of that and also he's regularly competing for France on Olympic and European senior teams. So he was a master. And so being able to just step away from having to go all the time with my business and kind of sit back and just watch how he ran his business and ask questions, it completely changed the way that I've run my business here.
Give me an example. Invoicing, collections calls, scheduling, like scheduling with other riders. Give me an example of where you saw some things that impacted you coming back stateside.
Yeah. So, I completely redid my programs. We call them programs here at the farm. So my clients are required to join a specific program, which I think really helps focus everybody and gets them, trying to push in a direction. And it gives me an idea of kind of what direction they all want to go in. So we have everything from a foundational program, which does not include training, but it includes oversight of the horses on the ground. Sport includes a set number of lessons for the clients, and then you have the elite program, and that's pretty much a all-inclusive kind of program. And so it helped me with just knowing what my income was going to look like every month, right? Because I these programs are kind of solidified, whereas I was doing a la carte pricing before for the most part. And so that was helpful to just know what my income was going to look like from month to month. And then also it helped me know how to help my clients, right? That the people that are in the elite program, I know that they're really pushing and they want to be the best at what they're doing. And that's awesome. We're here to support it. But the people in the sport program, they love what they're doing. They're wanting to get better, but they're not going to be dedicated to the extent that they want help every day. And that's okay. I know how much effort I need to put into each of those types of clients. And the same goes for the foundation. And then if they need more, then they can always reach out. But it gives us all a little bit more of a clear picture. And so then there's no real guesswork to it.
Yeah, really good. Great example. I was actually thinking about my own business when you were saying that. I hope other people are thinking about the same thing if they're in the private sector listening to this. There's some of those lessons translate far outside equestrian. Really good, especially your open-mindedness. And busy, you also point out almost by accident, you walk into this part of the conversation. Busy kills. Well, I shouldn't say kills to a former ICU nurse. I mean, busy is a wet blanket on good intentions. And you having the ability to slow down and look at somebody else's business and just chill. It's not yours, and absorb that and marinate in that. I mean, that's part of the story too. You get back to Kentucky or Florida and you are go, go, go. So you don't really have time to do that. That's actually, ironically, one of the places I come in as a business coach is I help organize around your executive busy. You're still making decisions and we still have to, like, if you will, level up together and you and your team. But I help with the busy and get it organized. That's a great observation on your part. You may have to use that again, and it may be here. It may be that it starts moving so fast that you need to jump off the merry-go-round, as they say, and take a more sober, calm, less busy view of your business, or get somebody to help you do that, because that's a really great takeaway for you. But again, embedded in that is you were so busy in your day to day, you didn't have time to take that worldview.
Totally.
And that's not just an Alexa Thompson, Alexa Eller's problem. Forgive me, I'm bouncing back and forth. You're newly married, and you have it both places, so I'm saying it both places. Alexa Thompson, right?
Yep. Alexa Thompson. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Kieran got a little bit defensive the other day because there was an article written about a couple of our horses that said Thompson over and over again. And he was like, I'm just offended that they would call you Thompson. And I'm like, yeah, babe, like that's our name, right? Like, it's okay. He was like, no, but you're Alexa. Like, you should be known for who you are, which I think goes back to just what an incredible husband I have, right? But it's kind of fun to be able to make especially with the timing of leaving and going to France and coming back, I'm kind of creating my own new self. And I'm no longer a young rider, and I'm an adult and ready for senior teams. And so I get to come in as Alexa Thompson. It's kind of fun.
It's really cool. And you're on the Together at the Top show talking about business. It's really, really cool. We appreciate having you. Can I ask you some rapid fire questions as we get into, let's say the fourth quarter here?
Oh, okay. I'm maybe ready.
Don't screw this up, Ellers. Don't screw this up, Thompson. Either one of you.
I need a Red Bull.
Talk to me about family support and the role family support has played in your life and career.
Family support. I am so blessed to have it, to be surrounded by some of the best business people and just people in general. Doing what I do without family support, it would be impossible. And they tolerate the fact that I'm only home for a random holiday here and there. So grateful.
What does Alexa Thompson look for in a teammate, and what can't you have on your team?
What can't I have on my team?
What do you look for in a teammate, and what can you not have in your team?
What do I look for in a teammate? A team player. I don't know. A person who is wanting the best for everybody, right? That is looking out for everybody on the team. It's the person that sees you drop something and they pick it up and they don't say anything about how they picked it up. They just put it back in, your arms, that kind of thing. Those people, I think, are irreplaceable and can't survive without them. In terms of what can you not have on the team, I don't do lying. I can't have a liar on my team.
Just straight up. There it is.
Yeah.
Haven't heard it put that. Yeah, because from there, it erodes everything else. Everything else gets eroded from there. So you need trust. The inverse of that is you need trust.
No, it's very true. I just am very clear with my young kind of adults that are coming through there's no tolerance right there. You can make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, but you can't lie about it, because especially in either of the fields that I've done, if you lie about a mistake, that's when big things happen, right? Big bad things happen. If you make a mistake, we can for the most part, fix it or at least learn from it.
How does technology play into your business and can it provide an edge to your operation?
I have recently started using Pivo, which is this really cool camera tracking device, and it video records the horses. And so I've been able to continue to ride with Maxime Livio from over here. So we do lessons for him that are 6 p.m. and noon for me. And I'm able to continue to learn and grow even from 4,000 miles away, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. Any other examples that you might use for the business part of the operation or like anything you're looking at? Or it's also fair to say I reject it in my business in certain places. I see it and I reject it. I'm going to walk away from it.
No, I think that technology is not going anywhere, right? So we have to find ways to integrate it into what we're doing. And so there's awesome ways to do document tracking, right? Things that we used to keep in a binder and all of these loose papers and stuff. Now we have it in apps, which is incredible. We use Google Sheets and Google Docs like they're our Bible here, right? It's amazing because it's something that is live and we can update it and everybody sees it. That side of technology is really neat. And you're looking at kind of the younger generation coming up, they always have their phone on them. And so rather than saying don't be on your phone, just giving them better reasons or better things to be doing when they're on their phone.
Yeah. What advice would you give a leader my age about working with a leader your age?
I don't know. Tell me everything. I don't know that there is really any advice I could give you. I think the only thing that I've ever run into that's been slightly off-putting with a leader or a mentor that's maybe older than me or more experienced than me is not necessarily being open to my wanting to lean in. And so just be open to teaching and educating us and maybe don't assume that my generation isn't wanting to learn and grow, right?
Yeah.
Be open.
Yeah. Really good. What are you most excited about looking forward to 2024? We may not have enough time for all the things you're excited about. What are some of the things you're excited about in 2024?
Continuing to build on this new start that we have, right? I've got truly the most incredible team surrounding me and I just want to be able to utilize my time with this team right now and I'm looking forward to being able to continue to grow and be able to make my team proud. Really, I'm really excited for whatever we get done. I just want to be able to make the team proud.
You say we. I stopped counting it like 11 times. You hardly ever say, I don't mean to, well, I actually do mean to listen. Some of my best mentors made an impression on me. Like, listen to the number of times somebody says I and me. It'll give you insight. You are a team person. You are clearly a team person from Team Clearview Equestrian to team building to the number of times you said we. I'm not sure if you know you do that, but I'm observing that for you as a mirror and I love it. To be honest with you, I really don't like the inverse because I for sure would point that out.
Well, hey, thanks. I just know that without the royal we, the whole team, I would be nothing. There is no way that I could be on this call with you. There is no way that I would have a job, right? Thank God for the team.
Yeah. Anything else I should be asking you before we close this out? Or anything else you want to share with us?
No, I'm so grateful to have been able to spend time with you. I'm looking forward to a sit down lunch and for you to give me more of your great insight.
I think we learn from each other. I really do. And in this show, I mentioned this at the four Alexas. We're really blessed to have a growing leadership, especially in the emerging leaders and leader space. And I think we make big mistakes when we only interview, I'll say my stage of career, people that have already made it. You are well on your way. If you haven't made it already, you use different language. You have really insightful things to say. You thank me for my insight. I thank you for yours. It's really important that we learn from each other. And I'll just go back real quick to the question I asked you about what you would tell somebody my age about working with somebody your age. One of the things I would say, and I'm trying to really practice this in my business life, is you can be additive. There are lanes that I can't cover. I don't know some of these people. I don't know the language as well. I may not know the technology. I don't have friends and colleagues in the 28 to 35-year-old demographic because I've mostly aged out. When I think about some of the things I was doing at your age, I was running stuff. I had an opinion that mattered, and people should be talking to me. So you teaming up with somebody later stage career, whether it's a vendor, whether it's another trainer overseas, you have a lane to be additive in. And so I would say to people my stage, do not give up on me. The leader doesn't always have the title. The leader doesn't always have the most experience. And even if you're amazing and Alexa's mentor, my guess is there are additive lanes that she can fill, and you need to be open to them at my age and asking probative questions and really listening to the skill sets that folks have because you don't know it all. That part is cliche. The rest of it maybe isn't as cliche. But I really liked your answer a lot.
Oh, likewise.
Alexa Ellers, now Thompson, you were double clear and right on time with this interview.
Woo.
That's horse talk for you. Nailed it. Thank you to Riley Byrne, Megan Tuck, and Hillary White at Podigy Podcast, and Alex Warner on research. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next month on Together at the Top. Thank you so much for your time. Together at the Top thrives off listeners like you. To stay connected, follow our socials in the show notes and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll be releasing our show on the last Tuesday of every month. See you next time. At Nick Warner Consulting, we exist to coach and consult motivated professionals. I meet with you on Zoom in focused 90-minute sessions, working toward your goals and developing next-level business skill sets. My job is to add value to your organization and your career. To learn more, visit www.nickwarnerconsulting.com or call me directly at 916-765-3576.